And the question is, are these players on their way to winning the 6th for their country? Brazil has already won it 5 times, and that was a pretty convincing performance. First half in particular, 4-0 up at half-time. They allowed Korea play their way back into it somewhat in the second half. And 4-1 it finished. But it's Brazil through to meet Croatia in the quarterfinals on Friday afternoon. Argentina and the Netherlands, as you can see, in the same half of the draw. So Diddy, the scoreline would suggest, it reflects the game very accurately, that Brazil were in total control after that first half. Didn't have to do much in the second half. In fairness to Korea, they worked hard to get back into it. But I get the impression that you're still not 100% convinced about this Brazil side. Why is that?
I wouldn't say I'm not 100% convinced. I don't think today they needed to be at their best. They did what they had to do in the first half, scored 4 wonderful goals, and then took the foot off the gas, as Ronnie said, understandably, because they could play in second gear and save some energy for the next few games. There's bigger tests ahead. I think they're in the easier or the weaker half of the draw, with Croatia coming up now, and then Argentina or Netherlands. Just a couple of things that dance in the first half and then taking the keeper off. For me, this is an unwritten rule, and it doesn't go with that lovely tribute now for Pele, because, at times I feel that they don't give the opposition the respect they should, and you don't see that with any other nation in that tournament. I just got a feeling that they think they're invincible, and to take the keeper off with 10 minutes to go is something you don't do. And
why is that?
Well, because it's an unwritten rule. Unless a goalkeeper is injured, you don't take the keeper off. For me, it's disrespectful, and I can't see any other nation doing it. They think they're invincible. I think they think they're halfway to winning this tournament, but it's a long way to go. And as I said at half-time, you've got to be very careful not to tempt fate. But I think they try their best to just do that.
But can some of that not be mistaken as simply confidence, because they are beginning to play well? They have scored 4 goals tonight.
There's bigger tests ahead, Peter.
Yeah.
They're, I think, number 28 or 29 in the world. They beat them 5-1, I think, leading up to the tournament. South Korea. It was a mismatch today. Any team. I just wonder what Ghana and Uruguay are thinking, because I think both these teams would have given Brazil a proper game today. South Korea wasn't able to do that, and there's always something bigger than you, and you always have to keep your feet on the floor, do the talking afterwards. And after watching them in the first half, if you dance the first goal, but the third goal, the game was over. And if anything, they were dancing more for the third and the fourth goal. And my first reaction was, you won't be dancing in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, you did say that. Maybe there's some unwritten football etiquette, Kevin, that they're not adhering to. Do you view that as arrogance as well?
Listen, the one positive for manager, he's used the 26 players now, isn't he? He's got everyone on. That third choice goalie.
But it's not about just keeping players happy, is it?
Well, it is. It's hard to keep team. You have 26-man squad. Keeping players happy is vital, because that's nearly harder for the manager than picking your first 11. How do you keep everyone behind the scenes happy? How do you look behind you and you see a load of unhappy heads? I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't change it, but I can see why he did. If you have 25, he might as well bring the last one on, have the 26 get their appearance, and he doesn't have to worry about them then for the rest of the tournament.
But surely aren't there an awful lot of positives about what we've seen from Brazil so far? I mean, there were questions over their defence coming into this competition, and they seem to be allayed now because the defence seems reasonably solid. Or, as Diddy said, maybe they haven't been tested.
Listen, and I felt really sorry for Korea. Listen, that team had a week's rest. The only team didn't play against Cameroon. 9 fresh players today. Whatever chance Korea had coming into this game was gone from what they had to put into the last game, and only have 3 days recovery. For them to play well, they needed 4 or 5 days because they're full of energy. For them to have any chance against Brazil, they needed to be able to recover and go again. It really kills the smaller teams, the smaller nations who can't make as many subs, don't have a big squad like Brazil to be able to have any chance whatsoever. So the game was over after half an hour. Again, going into the Croatia are going to be off their feet after the game today. Brazil can go after 20 minutes, the game's over, second gear, break a load of subs in the second half and be fresh now again for Croatia.
I can understand how we can have a certain amount of sympathy for Korea Republic, but even, let's say, when they went 2 down, they still didn't change anything. They seemed to be completely bereft of ideas, and it just became easier and easier for Brazil. So, I mean, you can't blame Brazil for tightening the screw against a team that's not reacting.
No, not at all. But if you're 2-0 down against a team that's far superior to you, it's very hard to find the right balance because, one thing you want to get back into the game, you want to score. On the other hand, it might be best to just sit tight for 10-15 minutes and maybe go in at 2-0 at half-time. But obviously afterwards, hindsight is a beautiful thing. You're always wiser. Maybe they should have been a bit more cautious after going 2 behind. But then again, if you give a penalty away, and the second goal more or less finished the game, the fella, Kim, doesn't see Richarlison come in, clips his foot. It's a penalty, a soft one, but it's a penalty. And then you're 2-0 down, you're up against it. And then you're just chasing shadows. And when they can keep the ball, you're in for trouble.
Yeah, what is emerging now, again, Kevin, at this World Cup, is that the traditional powerhouses of football remain, particularly Europe and Argentina and Brazil from South America. The other nations who we very often say, they seem to be making progress, the African nations, the Asian nations. But when it comes to those crucial stages, they seem to fall at that hurdle.
Yeah, it's the same every World Cup. It's the strongest countries, the strongest nations. I'm trying to think of a real surprise package in recent, like South Korea in 2002, maybe Costa Rica, was it?
But they're all one-offs, aren't they?
Yeah, one-offs. It's not going to happen regularly, and that's just football. The cream rises to the top in every competition, in every league. It's what you expected. When you go to this quarter-final, you look at the teams who are going to be in the quarter-final, you would have, at the start of the tournament, you would have pretty much been able to pick out the route and those teams that were going to be in it.
OK. And you're very welcome back. So, Korea Republic have been beaten 4-1 by Brazil. We did anticipate a few more goals in the second half, but we thought they'd come from Brazil. They didn't materialise because, as we've mentioned already, Kevin, they took their foot off the gas somewhat. But Korea, at least they had something to take from the game. This was a lovely goal.
Yeah, fabulous goal. Paik Sheng-go. You won't hit a better one than that. You'd have to feel you'd be delighted for Korea. He's onside. That's a lovely touch and strike. So I think it might take a tiny little glance on the way through. But listen, the one thing the manager would have said to them at half-time is, it's 4-0. Can we go out and win the second half? And listen, whatever Brazil took their foot off the pedal and whatever they brought on some fabulous players and they didn't manage to score. And Korea did. They can take something out of the game. And they actually had a few more chances as well. Alisson made a couple of really good saves where they could have got another goal or two back. So listen, it was always going to be very difficult for them. As I said, I thought they were going to get beat anyway, but the fact that only 72 hours recovery time, I think it made it a massive, impossible task for them.
Let's look back at some of the chances from the second half. And in fairness to Rafinha, he was one of the Brazilian players. He kept going, he kept trying.
Yeah, so did Richarlison. Rafinha, very influential today. Was involved in pretty much everything they did. Here, another good step over, comes back inside. It's a brilliant save in the end by the keeper. I think he sees it late. And we showed a few clips, and I wouldn't be too critical here. Not sure it's complacent, but obviously you haven't got that last little will or hunger to score. This is Dani Alves, who came on 39, still going unbelievable. And the athleticism here shows. Scissor kicks it into the ground. The defender's lucky that he gets a block in, but no, they kept going forward. They had chances. If they wanted more goals, or if they needed more goals, they probably would have got them.
They probably would, and I suppose it's encouraging from their point of view that the likes of Rafinha and Richarlison, because there was a question mark over Richarlison. We even posed it ourselves before the game started, whether he was the man or whether Firmino should have been there instead of him. But again, he's got on the score sheet and he contributed to the game tonight.
He did. He massively contributed to the tournament for them. The only thing I'd say in the second half is, for him anyway, to be a bit more ruthless. They had a couple of half chances. He had a couple of half chances. He's a great chance now of being the top scorer in the tournament. So from his point of view, there's a couple of times it could have been pulled back to him and they were taking the piss a little bit and just trying to score the perfect goal when he could have been ruthless and really grabbed bull by the horns and got himself up there with Mbappe and maybe get a golden boot. So that side of it, maybe it'd be a little disappointing. But in fairness to Bento, the manager of Korea, is dead right. They showed a bit of heart, Korea. They were still tackling, still fighting, still chasing back, still running. Could have been very easy to throw in the towel. 4-0 down to Brazil. Legs gone, but they didn't, in fairness. Yeah, and another player who needs to keep his concentration throughout, no matter what's happening, even if it's all happening up the other end of the field, is the goalkeeper. And we know how good Alisson Becker is. And
pulled off a couple of important saves tonight, which keeps him very much involved and on his toes.
Yeah, listen, gets a bit of match practice. This was Wang who scored the winner against the all-important winner against Portugal. Great effort from him. Alisson with a good save. While Alisson was on the pitch, as we said, he got a rest as well, like everyone else again. Really well here. Doesn't look it in first instance, but there. Great touch at the start of the second half. Listen, as good as it is, 4-0 up and it went to 4-1. Again, this is a fabulous save. It gets to 4-2 and all of a sudden takes the gloss off the performance. 4-2, 4-3 when they had some really good opportunities. All of a sudden there's a few question marks about their offence and different things like that. So important saves for him. Again, listen, he had to be sharp. He did his job. He's a top-class goalkeeper and there's a lot of competition for him to get that number 1 spot, but he's there for a reason.
Yeah, and Shea was watching that right up until half-time, so he'll be delighted that we did a goalkeeper piece. But did it's so important to have a top-class goalkeeper if you have any aspiration towards winning the World Cup.
You won't win the World Cup with an average goalkeeper, and I think Brazil got one as good as anyone.
Yeah.
He shows it week in, week out for Liverpool. And probably what I like about him most is his temperament, the calmness he's got. He just influences his team, and he makes saves. He does what he has to do, and some of the saves here were just exceptional. But he does make it look easy, and he's a huge bonus for the Brazil team.
Now, I suggested to you at half-time that maybe because of Brazilian culture and their more expressive nature than us very conservative Europeans, that that it's in their nature to dance, to celebrate. I mean, the fans do it throughout the game, but as far as you're concerned, it's not the thing to be doing in a game, especially a game where you're dominating the opposition.
There's a line. If you do it once, I've got sympathy. If they, we see it in the Premier League, we see it in the Bundesliga that they practice something after they scored a goal. But after every goal, I think it was just a bit too much, and obviously it was capped off with a substitution, bringing the manager joining in, and you just look a fool if it doesn't work out, because people back home, they'll be expecting them to win the World Cup now, and here the keeper coming off. If it was 1-0, would he have taken the keeper off?
Undoubtedly he wouldn't. No.
He wouldn't, exactly. And you've got to respect the opposition, because end of the day, things will always come back to haunt you. And what they did tonight, to leave himself open to criticism or to tempt fate in a game, they should have won. They did win. They did win it impressively. I don't get it. And
okay.
I'm not sure whether the players wanted the keeper to come up because he's the last player who hasn't played. I do not know, but I didn't like it, and I'm not keen on their chances after what they did tonight.
Okay, well, you've both been in international squads, and we know that Germany certainly never choreographed any significant goal celebrations. And Kevin, from your time in the Republic of Ireland, I don't remember any significant...
We didn't score enough people to be worrying about our celebrations. You know what, the manager thing, I'd love to see that in the final, if they're 3-0 in the final, and then get involved. Not, when they're 4-0 up against Korea in the last 16, I think there's just no need for it, and it's disrespectful, and save it for if you think you're going to win the trophy.
Well, yeah, that's probably the best time to dance, of course, if you have something to celebrate at the end of the tournament. Brazil getting 4, and they got out of the blocks very quickly, Kevin, and Vinicius Jr. scoring, but Rafinha, who we mentioned a short time ago, contributing hugely to this opener.
He was involved in a lot of good things in the first half. Does very well on the right, pulls it back. He's not aiming for Vinicius, so just ends up getting to him. Really good finish. Listen, a lot of Koreans come out to block him here, and we were speaking beforehand about Brazil being wasteful in these situations, and that's the hardest chance he had in the tournament, and he put in the only spot really could score. This is not long afterwards. Richarlison, in fairness, he's working to get back and try win the ball, and that's one of the reasons he's in the team, but a very soft penalty, barely touched and goes down easily. Neymar, listen, you want to keep, I know, and he's just going to stroke it in and roll it. He's never putting power behind it, just stand up and try dive the way it's going. I don't understand.
The keeper, he was doing his worst Bruce Grobbler there, wasn't he?
He was making everyone dizzy, to be honest with you. He was everywhere. But listen, they started really well, created a lot of opportunities, and took them, Brazil. And
I suppose as Brazil's confidence grows, Didi, they all look so comfortable on the ball anyway, but then you see the centre-halves joining in attack, and just shows how comfortable they are on the ball. Yeah, and you heard the manager talking, he said every time they attacked our goal, they scored, and sometimes you have these days. Obviously, you've got to say this is just purely brilliant. Richarlison keeps the ball alive here.
The way he juggles the ball here, keeps possession is brilliant, and the two centre halves. Richarlison probably could have taken that first ball of Marquinhos, but his awareness to leave that ball. Yeah, when he plays it in there, he probably could have had that ball, but his awareness to leave it because he knows he probably gets it back. Well, if he knew it was Thiago Silva, maybe he didn't think he was going to get it back, but he got it back anyway. What a brilliant team goal. And here it's a little dink towards the back post. It was meant for Neymar, actually. Slightly overhit. They've got 4-5 men in the box. They can commit players forward because they're winning 3-0 at the time, in a very cool and composed finish by Paqueta, who just sides-footed into the far corner. When they're going, when they're in full flow, they're wonderful to watch.
They certainly are, and we're probably not as concerned now about their shortage of goals. They've only 3 up until this evening, but they've added another 4. So Brazil very much on song at the moment. Now let's remind you once again of how the paths to the final look at this stage. And as you can see, Brazil are through to the quarterfinals. They'll face Croatia, and the winner of that quarterfinal will face the winner of the Netherlands and Argentina. So it's really shaping up nicely. 10 teams still remaining in the competition. That'll be reduced by another 2 tomorrow evening with the final round of 16 matches. So it really is shaping up as a lot of people would have expected it to. We saw some dark horses fall in the group stages, like Denmark, like Belgium, because people thought, well, Belgium probably gone. But of those teams that are now left and making an impression, Diddy, so far in the round of 16, who has impressed you most?
I'd probably say France. You know, Mbappe, when he's playing as he does at the moment, he's unstoppable. And I think this is when you know, if you look ahead, there might be a final between Brazil and France. They haven't got Mbappe. As good as Vinicius Junior is, but he's not Mbappe. And he can decide a game single-handedly. I'm not sure Brazil got a player like this.
And in other areas, do you think France are fairly sound? Defensively, they look good. What about their midfield?
Yeah, Tchouaméni does ever so well. Griezmann, I think, benefits from Pogba not being there. He gets a bit more freedom. And they just look the full package. They're good at the back. Goalkeeper, I've never been a big fan of the goalkeeper, but he's a World Cup winner in his own right. And just one thing on tomorrow's games, it would be great to see Morocco. I don't think they can beat Spain, but I'll be cheering them on because I think it would be great to have at least one African team or one non-European or non-South American team in the last 8.
Yeah, it certainly would. So France and Brazil probably favourites amongst most people, but of course the people's favourite for many, many reasons could be Lionel Messi and Argentina. But Kevin, given what we've seen from them so far and what we've seen from the others, how do you rate their chances now?
I think out of Brazil, France, I'd put them third. I think I've done 2 or 3 other games. Listen, they started off really poor against Saudi Arabia. They've come into it a bit better, but they're still struggling. 1-2-0, not really breaking teams down. It's tough for them. It was tough. All the games have been hard. They haven't been easy. They haven't won a game like Brazil did tonight. Maybe that'll come, but I would have them behind Brazil and France at the moment.
Yeah, well, it really is building up very, very nicely indeed in Qatar, and we hope to have some crescendo at the 2022 World Cup.